Oh, I got a doozy for you today, folks. Boy! Welcome back to the Philosophy for Philistines channel, also known as Politics for Plebeians, with your host, Bill Reimer. Many of you will be aware of an article written by Emily Oster, published in The Atlantic on October 31st, 2022, entitled, "Let's Declare a Pandemic Amnesty. Let's focus on the future and fix the problems we still need to solve." I provide the link in my blog. In this article, Oster insists that we ought to forgive and forget how illiberal and authoritarian the response to COVID was, in spite of the fact it appears that we still have learned nothing, particularly when it comes to the authoritarian, narcissistic policies of our leaders who ignored our inherent civil liberties, claiming in so many fine words that tyranny would mitigate the pandemic. It must also be noted that it is one thing for the public to accept what their elected representatives have mandated, as opposed to why the first response of the state was to use the virus as a political weapon against the citizen by taking exceptional authoritarian measures to mitigate the pandemic, measures which are still in play as we are warned of future outbreaks. Yet we have demonstrable proof that these measures not only did not work, but caused horrendous ancillary damage to society. For 2 years, the powers that be used COVID as an excuse to enforce policies that were more dangerous than the virus itself. And now they want us to forget it all happened. Well, no. I, for one, won't be forgetting that the state used an illness to grant itself unprecedented, unconstitutional authority while undermining the economy and destroying our children's education. More are likely to die of harm from their heavy-handed policies and vaccine injuries than from the virus. More small businesses will never reopen than over any other period of time in my living memory. And damningly, more wealth was transferred to the super rich than has ever occurred in all of human history. Subtitle: On the Strange Death of Free Market Economies, Individual Autonomy and Economic Freedom in Favor of a Fascistic Form of Social Collectivism. Newt Gingrich once stated, "The future has publicists, but the past has prison guards, and those guards are mostly lobbyists who do everything they can to stop the future." This simple axiom perfectly defines why democracy is failing in the West. Our governments are deliberately being controlled by powerful multinational conglomerates and the wicked elite who are invested in them to use their clout to control our governments. In 1776, the father of the modern free market economy, Adam Smith, wrote in The Wealth of Nations that any gathering of businessmen is a conspiracy against the consumer. In this postmodern age, it has become a concerted plan to control the political process to serve the elite. Consequently, the elite's goals are invariably at odds with what serves the public good. And I'll quote directly what Adam Smith said: "People of the same trade seldom meet together, even for merriment and diversion, but the conversation ends in a conspiracy against the public or contrivance to raise prices." That was written in 1776 in The Wealth of Nations. And, well, you can look it up for yourself. Since Adam Smith couldn't possibly have conceived of a gathering of the uber wealthy, the size and scope of the meeting of the great and good in Davos, This manipulation of our political and bureaucratic class to serve the needs of the entitled 1% is unprecedented. Our elected leaders not only do not create policies which serve the needs of the public, but they have betrayed their sacred duty to defend our democracies from fascistic forces whose idea of building back better is to plunge the West into darkness and starvation in order to green the planet. These fascists are in fact ghouls who despise the very foundations of Western culture, our Christian heritage, and the achievements of true liberal social progress since the Age of Enlightenment, until this pack of dystopian powermongers tried to drive the West back into the Dark Ages. And they've used the pandemic as an excuse to do so. Forgive and forget? I don't think so. Not going to happen. Not with this guy. But what's your opinion? What do you think ought to be done to a political class who have deliberately sold out the public good to wealthy lobbyists who are influencing the government? That's why all the COVID policies were enacted. Look at the increase in wealth of Pfizer-BioNTech over that period of time. Why are they at ground zero in Wuhan? Why were they already developing technology, mRNA technology, right where the virus occurred? Why were deadly pathogens being sent to Wuhan? Why is Pfizer in that laboratory where those pathogens escaped? It is, my own family and friends are so willfully ignorant of what is glaringly obvious that I just have no words to describe their naivety. I've told the truth for over 2 years now and stood my ground. I've lost many, many friends as a result of this. And I don't care. I will speak the truth no matter what. And I literally mean no matter what. God bless you all. Those are things to think and pray about, because we are headed into a very dark place. This fall, I have predicted before, we're going to see suffering such as we have not seen in living memory in the West.